The guy, when you look at the Celtics team, and Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, but adding Porzingis and like the way he approaches everything with like a giant smile on his face can be underrated when it comes to the success they've had.
Yeah,
undervalued when it comes to that.
I thought that was the biggest turning point for them to win a championship last year. Even though he was out for a lot of the playoffs, the games that he did come back and he played in, he was really impactful, and he was really impactful for you throughout the season, which puts you in a good position. But when he's out there, you're a completely different team because he can give you a little bit of a low post game, and he can stretch out the defense with his shooting. And, it adds to the rivalry because he's going back to the place that drafted him in New York, and, he was viewed as the original unicorn over there.
I also think for him, he's had now 2 postseasons where he hasn't been fully healthy. So I'm sure that there's an aspect to Kristaps where he's saying, okay, now I finally feel good in my body. I want to show Boston like what I can really do. It's perfect timing for him to really hit his stride. So I think that's probably why you're seeing him smiling so much. He doesn't care if he gets, a split open eyebrow or a hurt nose. He's just excited and happy to be out there.
Curtis, you said sweep on this, correct?
Sweeperoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, defensively, Magic, better basketball team.
Yeah, way better than the Knicks.
Knicks have a little more length.
Mm-hmm. And they got more
as
offense.
we say. More offense, yes.
Yeah,
but their fans are all really short. Have you ever seen courtside? It's like Ben Stiller at 5'6", trying to jump and high five.
Spike Lee, yeah, they got a short fan base. But, New York has a better offense, with...
Than Orlando.
Yes.
But there are guys, Kathmandu struggling a lot.
Yeah, he's up and down.
At least in the last series. They were three of those games, they had to marshal a fourth quarter comeback to win them.
Yeah, the Celtics won't be like Detroit in the sense where if you look at Detroit in that series, they blew games at the end that they clearly should have won and should have been able to win that series. The Celtics, they'll give you some. They'll let you get back into some games if they'll get a lead on you, but they generally close out pretty good. So they're not going to make the same mistakes that Detroit made at the end of games. So listen. I wouldn't be shocked if they swept like Curtis said. I just go gentleman sweep because I feel like generally you give one game away, bad shooting and.
Well, and Jason Tatum averaged 36 last 3 games.
Yep.
Seems like the wrist is healed up and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I did see Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce on their podcast revisiting the lack of respect that Jason Tatum gets and suggesting that he has been so far the best player in the NBA playoffs. I don't know if you agree or not. I will let you hear. Shime, do you have that? I'll let you hear the way they discussed it and see if you agree.
Why nobody talking about what Jason Tatum doing?
Right. You see what he did since 220? Man, I looked at that. You saw that? He like first, second, first, third.
He like arguably right now, as much as we talking about Ant. Yeah. Arguably right now, the best player playing the best in the playoffs.
Of the new Jew.
Man, that's
like,
what I'm
when
saying.
you go and you say what you want to be like to a college right now, I want to be like Tatum. I want that. I want that career.
Man,
early. Like, think about that. He got experience early.
It's time to start putting some more respect on his name. We can't just skip over him.
Yeah, but he won't get it until we kind of talked about this last week at some point in time. He won't get it until he does it in the Eastern Conference Finals, which then leads them to the NBA Finals, and then has to do it in the NBA Finals. Because until he, or even do it in the NBA Finals, because let's say he's not great in the Eastern Conference Finals and they win, and then he's great in the NBA Finals, then I think that's where he ultimately has to do it.
Meaning that he has to be the MVP of the finals in order to
or he has to be the MVP and when you look at the way the Celtics won their championship, it was Jason Tatum was a major part of it. Right?
He has to make sure that in the second round, too, he has numbers like he had in the first, because the first round, people can still point to the first game and the fact that he sat out. And people like Greg were upset about the entire thing, thought it was a soft move by him. So he needs to not just go through the first round without any games that he was actually playing in where he had a bad game, but
Right.
in the second round moving forward, he's got to do the same thing.
But even then, Courtney, that won't matter because if he's great in the second round, then they'll say, all right, show us in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then if he's okay in the Eastern Conference Finals and they get to the NBA Finals, that's where we're going to judge him. We're going to judge him on the NBA Finals and what he does in the NBA Finals. And that's kind of, and he won't get the credit that he deserves until he shows them in the fact that, like, okay, he was the best player on the team and there was no, like, maybe it's cool to like have one bad game. Every superstar does it, but you can't be like a couple bad games and you're not the guy throughout the series. So that's what it's all going to matter.
Has there ever been a 1 seed that's been so rightly just completely dismissed like the Cavs have been? I mean, they were excellent in the regular season. They beat the Celtics in the regular season. They dominated the Heat in round 1, and last night they lose to the Pacers. And it's like, I don't know how anybody would think that team has a chance in hell of getting through the Celtics.
No, but Curtis, I agree. I don't think there's many people that think that they can beat the Celtics.
Right.
You know, so I mean, they're one of those teams that, you know, I love Donovan Mitchell. I think he's an amazing player, but they're one of them teams now. They're at the point of like, all right, you got to show that you can win on the big stage and you can win in the Eastern Conference Finals and get to the NBA Finals.
You, coach, are being accused of a dumb narrative.
What's that?
By a texter saying that Jason Tatum had better numbers than Brown across the board in the finals last year, and so it's a dumb narrative to suggest that he needs to be MVP of the finals in order to get the respect on his name that he should have.
Well, why doesn't he have he did have better numbers than Jaylen Brown.
I think he does have respect on his name.
Nah, stop it. He doesn't. He had better numbers. He should have won the MVP last year in the finals. You know, we can argue it, but he's the only player in NBA history that led their team scoring, assists, rebounds throughout the playoffs and NBA Finals and did not win Finals MVP. So until he gets that, there are going to be people, I don't do it, but there are going to be people, a lot of people who say, oh, he's on a good team. We were doing it, and Courtney's right. We were doing it at the beginning of this, of the playoffs.
So who do you think, tell me who gets more respect than he does?
Nationally?
Yeah,
Anthony
SGA,
Edwards, SGA, Luka Doncic.
Luka, you think
Jokic.
Luka? All I hear about Luka is that he doesn't play any defense, and it's correct. So I don't know that he gets more respect.
And that he's fat.
Yeah, I mean,
Greg, we had to deal with him getting all the respect in the world before last year's finals. They kept saying how much better he was than Tatum last year.
Yeah,
but then you watch and you see the effect that the player has, and then you can alter your opinion. Do you think a lot of people are looking at? I mean, Curtis felt like adding Luka meant you were going to be in the finals as the Lakers,
right?
And so
still has a shot if all the teams get sick.
But
I mean, I don't. When it comes to respect on somebody's name, I think it's diminished a little bit on Luka.
It has diminished, and I think
Can I just jump in here, Greg? If the Celtics win again, and it's back to back, Jason Tatum will be the only best player on a team to win consecutive titles to never have an MVP in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
He is not discussed at all as Kobe or Jordan or LeBron or any of those guys at their peak. Even Steph Curry. So we can go back and forth as to why. We can talk about Jaylen Brown and the great roster, but he is a unicorn in that sense. He is not he shouldn't be in the pile of all those guys, especially if he's able to execute back-to-back championships, something Larry Bird never did.
Well, even you look at Giannis is another guy that I think, when we're talking about nationally, that might get more respect than Tatum. It's just, and that's why I said it's going to have to be until he gets to the NBA Finals, wins the Finals MVP, and then I think people will give him the respect that they should be giving him, but for whatever reason, whether it's his personality, people don't like his personality, doesn't say much. We heard it after the beginning of the playoffs this year, like, oh, he's not a killer, he don't have this, he don't have that. I mean, you were beating the drum a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. When you look at players in the NBA right now, if you had to take the current plays and say, all right, I'm taking that player to build the team around, Jason Tatum should be number one on the list. He does it all. Find me another player who does what Tatum does. I don't think there is.
See, I think a lot of people would take SGA.
But I don't think SGA.
They're very similar when it comes to like their what did you call it earlier? The alpha like or
the personalities.
Personalities very similar. I think.
Right, they're very similar, and I think SGA is a great player, but I think he's not this super like vocal alpha on the team.
No.
I would take, for me, because I think Tatum's a little bit better defender than SGA. He's longer. He's got better length. I think Tatum's a little bit better shooter when it comes to three-point land. So I would take him over SGA, not knocking SGA, but he hasn't won a chip yet.
And the other thing is in this sport more than any other, we seek reasons why great players on championship teams are better than we may already perceive them to be. We were rushing to say Kobe's the greatest. We were rushing to say LeBron was the greatest. We all agreed that Jordan was the greatest. Tatum is the only one of this collection where, for whatever reason, the national conversation is to find out why he isn't something as opposed to saying he is. And I don't know. I think that's mostly anti-Boston bias. Like, I think national
or anti-Celtics or both.
Right. I just think people are tired of talking about Boston teams winning all the time. They're sick and tired of the overly active and engaged Boston sports fan on the internet that occasionally will go after hosts who say bad things about their team. And Boston fans consume media at a rate much higher than those in other markets. So if you say something negative about their best player, you will likely get more clicks.
Game one tonight. You can talk about it all day